Hello there, listeners. Welcome back. My name is Stephanie Safarian, and you're listening to episode 346 of Sustainable Minimalists, a twice weekly show about intentional and eco-minimalist living. We are all feeling the pinch, are we not? The pinch at the pump, the pinch at the grocery store. If I hear another news story about the price of eggs, I may just lose it. I was talking to a friend and a neighbor the other day at the bus stop, and he was lamenting about the price of groceries. We were talking about where we shop, etc. And he said, all I know is I fill up a bag of groceries at Market Basket, which here in the Northeast, by the way, Market Basket is a budget grocery store. So he says, I fill up a bag of groceries at Market Basket and it costs me $30. But when I go to Whole Foods and I fill up a basket with the same items, I pay $60. And so I thought to myself, after he made this comment, I thought to myself, what a great episode idea. If you're like my neighbor, you don't want to feed your family junk, but you also don't want to go poor. And so that's why on today's episode, we are discussing how to feed your family well without breaking the bank. I have a two-part show for you today. In part one, I am giving you 4 pre-tips, 4 precursors. So 4 things you need to know before we get into part 2, which is a lengthy list of all the foods that I suggest you buy in bulk when they're on sale and why and what to do with them, etc., etc. So we're going to get right into part 1. Tip number 1, when it comes to feeding your family well without breaking the bank. Tip number 1, it might not be the most environmentally friendly tip. However, it is to be open to sacrificing convenience for lower prices. What does that mean? That means be willing to go to multiple stores for a single grocery shop. It may very well be worth it for you financially to go to 2 stores or 3 stores. And again, I say that this is not an environmentally friendly tip because we don't want to be driving all around town or towns to fulfill this one errand. That is not a good waste of our fuel. However, in the context of today's episode, in which we're talking about saving money at the grocery store during a period of high inflation, going to multiple stores will definitely save you money. Speaking of going to multiple stores, let's go with the plan. Let's not just willy-nilly drive all around. That brings me to pre-tip number 2, which is that if you're new to budget shopping, if you've tended to your whole adult life gone to one grocery store, it pays, quite literally pays, to read the circulars and know what's on sale and make yourself a bit of a game plan. Now, I know circulars sound so 1992, don't they? Like the circular comes and you flip through them. Budget shopping, couponing, etc. has come a long way. There are handy dandy apps to help you keep track of what's on sale where. I use the Flip app. It's Flipp. It's pretty darn good. It helps me keep track of, what's on sale where. So I'm not carrying around a bunch of circulars and circling what I need with a black marker. Pre-tip number 3, when you are at any supermarket, make sure you go down the aisles that house your kitchen staples, even if you don't need any of the staple at the moment, right? For me, the staples that my kitchen always has on hand, it's those non-perishables that I know my family is going to eat, and it's those non-perishables that I know that if I'm in a pinch, I can create a meal off the top of my head. So what are they? It's always beans and rice and flour and pasta and canned tomatoes, all different kinds, the diced, the crushed, etc. If I have those things in my house, I know we will not go hungry because I can make something out of those items. And I know my kids will eat whatever I cook, mostly, probably, hopefully, fingers crossed. Make it a habit that even if you don't have beans or pasta on your list, make it a habit whenever you go to any grocery store to go down those aisles because those are staples. You know you're going to eat them. And if they are on sale, it would behoove you to buy them when they're on sale. Okay, so that's pre-tip number 3. And finally, pre-tip number 4 is all about your freezer. We're going to be talking about freezing food today. We're going to be talking about foods that you didn't know you could freeze, etc. And so when we talk about freezing food, I think it's really darn important to have some sort of freezer plan in place, because we can freeze food with the best of intentions, but if we forget we froze it, if we forget when we put it in the freezer, if we lose it to the recesses in the way back and it gets freezer burn, all our efforts were pointless. This just happened to me the other day. My house has a deep freezer in the basement, and usually what happens is I stick stuff in it, and then I stick more stuff in it, and then stuff goes to the back and I forget about it. And then a year later, I find a completely freezer burned item that is completely unrecognizable because the layers of ice that's on top of it is so deep, I can't even see what's inside the package. Don't let that happen to you. I suggest what I've started doing, and I'll report back in 6 months to let you know if it works. But in my calendar, every 6 months, I have an alert now that says, check the freezer, like rotate it, right? Also, when you're putting stuff in the freezer, if you're putting a sticky note on it, make sure you write the date you put it in there. I do find that, yeah, I still eat stuff that's been in there a year. However, 6 months is like the cutoff, right? If you freeze things for 3 months, 4 months, they're probably, still going to be freezer burn free if you package them correctly. But anything more than 6 months, the ice does start to accumulate, even if you were so diligent about freezing properly. So make sure you're writing the date when you put items in the freezer. Make sure you're rotating the freezer frequently so you know what you have. Make sure you're opening your freezer every few weeks and looking to see what you have so that when you go to the grocery store, you're not buying something that you already have that needs to be eaten. Get serious with your freezer plan. That's pre-tip number 4. Now we are moving on to the main set of today's episode, which is the foods that you should buy when they're on sale. We're going to do pantry staples first, and then we're going to go to dairy. Then we're going to go to produce, and then we're going to finish it off with meat and fish if you eat meat and fish. So let's start with the pantry staples, shall we? Oh my gosh, so good. I already alluded to it, right? I already alluded to a couple of these, but the first is beans. Beans. If your family eats beans, okay, consider buying dried beans. They cost, so a bag of dried beans costs about the same as a can of beans, but will give you 4 times as much. Think about that for a hot minute. You're paying the same amount as a can, but you're getting 4 times as much. Your dollar is going 4 times further. You're also getting away from the BPA or BPS problem as it relates to canned food. You're also hopefully getting rid of the excess salt that so many canned varieties of beans add for freshness. So consider buying dry. Even better, consider buying dried beans from the bulk bin if you have one near you. Now, if the thought of making a recipe with dried beans sends you into a tailspin, because it really does mean you have to start cooking that meal the day before. You almost always have to at least soak the beans, if not cook the beans. Please know that you can cook beans or soak beans and then drain most of the liquid and freeze those now ready beans in airtight containers to use later. Beans work really well in that regard in soups, in hummus, in veggie burgers if you're making those items. So dried beans over canned, save some money. Next up is those canned tomatoes, right? Canned tomatoes last for years and years and years in my pantry, and I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to make something on the fly, needed a random can of diced, and yes, I have it on hand. Lucky me, I can continue on with whatever it is I'm cooking. So if they're on sale at the supermarket, stock up, buy a couple. Just keep them in the back of your pantry. I'm willing to bet you will use them at some point, and you will thank me when that day comes. The last food item I want to talk about when we talk about pantry staples is bread. We're a big bread eating family. We also tend to be a big bread going moldy type of family. And I realized that the reason that our bread was going moldy before we got to eat it was because we were storing it in a bread box instead of in the fridge, or even better, in the freezer. We have a built-in bread box in our kitchen. You know, our kitchen was redone before we moved in, and the people before us built in a bread box. It's like hidden. And I thought to myself, whoa, this is so great. I don't have to look at the bread on the counter. But it really does nothing for keeping our bread fresh, especially in the humid summer months. So these days, we store bread either in the fridge or we slice it up, especially if it's like a baguette that's not already pre-sliced, and we store it in the freezer. It lasts way longer and it ensures that it actually gets eaten instead of going bad, because food that's gone bad that we can't eat is really just money that we throw in the trash can, isn't it? Now, just so you know, if you have stale bread, I mean, you could still eat stale bread, but it doesn't taste great. You've likely heard that you could make croutons with stale bread, or French toast, or breadcrumbs. You can also revive old bread by spritzing it with a little bit of water and putting it in the oven for 350 degrees for just 3 minutes. So something to keep in mind. We have 2 ad breaks today, so we're going to take the first one now. And when we come back, we're going to talk all about dairy. And this is where the surprising facts, factoids, and tips are really going to hit you hard. So we'll be back in a minute after a quick word from our sponsors. Thrive Market is my go-to for all of my grocery and household essentials because as a Thrive member, I save money on every single order. On average, I save 30%. Not only does Thrive Market save me money, they also save me lots of time. I love the filters on their website and their app. They have over 70 of them. And so whether you're looking for a certified gluten-free or non-toxic cleaning, you can curate your own shopping experience with the click of a button. For me, certified organic is really darn important. And so I just click the certified organic filter and off I go. There's no deciphering of those confusing product labels for me. Join Thrive Market today and get 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. Go to thrivemarket.com/sustainable for 30% off your first order plus a free gift. That's THRIVE market.com/sustainable. thrivemarket.com/sustainable. Do you have items in your closet that you've worn once or not at all? Enter Armoire. Armoire allows you to rent high-end designer clothing for every occasion, and then, here's the key, send it back. I had a family event to go to just last weekend, and I rented the most amazing black jumpsuit from Armoire. It's something I never would have tried on in the store, but I looked good, I felt good, and I felt even better knowing that I could return this item. It wasn't mine to keep. It was mine to borrow. Right now, you, my listeners, can get up to 50% off your first month. That's up to $125 off. Armoire.style/sustainable. That's ARMOIRE.style/sustainable to get up to 50% off your first month. Never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today. And we're back. Before the break, we discussed the pantry staples to buy when they're on sale and what to do with them. We discussed beans, dried beans preferably, canned tomatoes of all varieties, and bread. Now we're moving on to dairy. I'll just say right off the bat, I never know what to do with the cheese, especially. Can you freeze it? Can you not? If so, for how long? So let's start there. Let's start with cheese. In preparing for this episode, I am not embarrassed to say that I did indeed Google, can you freeze cheese? Here's the answer. The answer is yes. You can freeze cheeses like mozzarella and cheddar. Yes, you can freeze it if you plan on melting it. If you plan on eating it non-melted, the texture is going to be off. So think, if next time you're in the cheese aisle, could I freeze this and then, use it on something down the road? Just the other night, I made vegetarian enchiladas for my family. And, you grate up cheese. I put cheddar on top. It was supposed to be Monterey Jack, but that's a whole nother story. I didn't have any. So we used cheddar. Nobody cared. I had to grate up some cheese and put it on top before baking. I could have used frozen cheese. Easy, right? Or every Friday night, my family makes a homemade pizza. We do the dough and all the things. Yes, you can indeed buy mozzarella, cut it up, freeze it, and then thaw it, of course, and before putting it on your pizza. So when cheese is on sale, consider buying it and freezing it in your really darn organized freezer. Let's talk about butter. I mean, this shouldn't be really a surprise to anybody, but if butter's on sale, stock up and freeze it. You won't notice any difference whatsoever. This is what I do all the time, especially around the holidays when butter does tend to go on sale. Everybody's, baking fancy desserts, pies, etc. And butter's on sale. I'll buy 2 or 3 boxes and I'll just leave them in the freezer. No harm, no foul. Butter is something we use all the time, and I do not want to run to the store to buy butter, and I never have to because I know I always have some in the freezer. Next up when it comes to dairy is eggs. We have to talk about eggs, right? The price of eggs. I heard a story about eggs just this morning, and the national price of eggs 6 months ago was $1.30. And now the average price is $4 and something cents. Here in Massachusetts, we're way past $4 and something cents. I pay $7 for a dozen eggs. Anyways, if you spot eggs at a good price, why not buy 2 or even maybe 3 cartons if you're an egg eating household? Eggs will keep for 3 on the low end to up to 5 weeks in the refrigerator, sometimes even longer. Now, here's where things get crazy, okay? I did not know this, and I'm so excited to try it. You can beat eggs and then freeze them in ice cube trays, and you can use them later when you make scrambled eggs or some other baked good that requires an egg or 2. So consider that. So if you buy 3 dozen eggs at a really good price and you're thinking to yourself, you're cursing me out because you're thinking to yourself, Stephanie told me to buy more eggs and now they're all going to go bad. No, they're not. Just beat them up, pour them in ice cube trays, and then thaw them when you need them. Brilliant. I should say here too, back when my kids were younger and they were in preschool and we couldn't bring peanut butter and jelly for lunches. I was in the habit, because I was a way better mom then. I was younger and I had more energy, but I would make egg frittatas. Basically, they're egg muffins made at home, made in a muffin tin, really. Eggs, some onion. I cut red pepper up really small. You can make a dozen egg frittatas. Just look for a recipe online or I'll add one into the show notes. And then you can freeze those. So your kids need something for lunch, pack them an egg frittata. You need a healthy breakfast with a lot of protein that's going to hold you. Have an egg frittata. Done. So that's eggs. We cannot say goodbye to the dairy section before we talk about milk. If you still buy milk, like cow's milk, milk is a really great example of an item whose price fluctuates widely depending on where you buy it. So definitely check out the circulars, the sales, the average prices of the variety of food stores near you, especially with milk. Also check out convenience stores. Sometimes you can find a good price on milk at a 7-Eleven is what we have up here, or a Cumberland Farms. I don't even know if Cumberland Farms still exists, but you know what I mean. And then if you are open to non-dairy milks, remember that alternative milks, so oat milks, almond milks, soy milks, etc., are typically cheaper than cow's milk in 2023. And these alternative milks last an awful lot longer, so you don't have to worry about the alternative milk spoiling as quickly. And if you're wondering, can you freeze milk? The answer again is yes. The consistency will change, right? So I wouldn't freeze milk and then put it in my cereal per se. But if you have a recipe that calls for half a cup of milk, you can use previously frozen milk and your baked good will still taste unbelievably delicious. So now we are moving on to produce, and produce is notoriously problematic, is it not? I mean, it goes bad so fast. If I had to choose the number one item in my house that goes bad before we get around to eating it, it tends to be not necessarily the fruit, because my kids like fruit more than vegetables. It's definitely vegetables. Definitely vegetables. So we'll talk about fruit first, and then we'll talk about vegetables. When I go to the grocery store, well, first of all, let me back up and say, I only buy fruits and vegetables that are on the Dirty Dozen list, organic. It's just what I do. I might be a little crunchy, very crunchy. I'm very crunchy and I'm okay with it. But if it's on the Dirty Dozen, I'm buying organic and price be darned. That said, I am only buying the organic fruits, let's say, that are on sale. I don't go into a supermarket and say, I really have a hankering for raspberries today. And then I buy the $8 a pint raspberry. No, I buy the fruits that are organic and are on sale. Whatever's on sale is what we're eating that week. So that's tip number one. If you find a great fruit that everybody likes on sale, buy a little extra. And then once everybody's sick of the fruit, this always happens in my house too. I buy a berry. It's usually blueberries. They're on sale. They're organic. We eat half of the container and then like the big container, and then nobody wants the berries anymore. Well, you have two options. You can either freeze the berries. You can put them in some sort of baked good and then freeze the baked good. So you can put them in smoothies. There are so many options. So don't let the fact that fruits tend to go bad quickly stop you from buying them when they're on sale. When I have extra time, and especially during the summer when my family is going to the blueberry patch or the apple orchard or the strawberry patch to pick fresh fruit when it's in season, always try my darndest to make a baked good or two with the fruit we just picked and then freeze the baked good. This can be annoying at the time, especially in the summer. I don't want to stand in the kitchen. I don't want to heat up the kitchen with the oven, etc. However, I'm always thankful after the fact, because then if I'm going to somebody's house for dinner and I'm bringing the dessert, or if I'm having people over and I need to serve dessert, I have something already made. It's already made. I just have to thaw it. I've already put in the upfront work, and I'm always thanking myself down the road. So it's something to think about. Let's move on to vegetables. Okay. I've gotten smart recently with vegetables. So first of all, I always buy organic if it's a Dirty Dozen item, and I always buy what's on sale. So even though, on sale if my family will eat it and like it, okay? I really love broccoli. My family eats broccoli. However, if it's not on sale, I'm not buying it. I'm going to buy the zucchini if the zucchini's on sale, or I'm going to buy the, sweet potatoes. So something to keep in mind. And my second tip when it comes to vegetables, speaking of sweet potatoes, is to opt for vegetables when in doubt. Opt for vegetables that last a long time. Root vegetables tend to last an awful lot longer than the non-root vegetables, than the stuff that's in the refrigerated section of the supermarket, don't they? So cauliflower, carrots, the potatoes, onions, Brussels sprouts, maybe even, a cabbage if your family likes cabbage. So go ahead and buy the hearty vegetables. You will get many more weeks of opportunity to eat them. So we're going to take one more quick ad break, and then when we come back, I have a few hints for those of you who are eating and enjoying meat and fish. So I am a candle junkie at heart, but But when I learned that conventional candles are made from a byproduct of petroleum and emit carcinogens into my home, I stopped cold turkey. That's until I found Brooklyn Candle, which quite quickly became my new favorite small batch candle company. These candles are handmade in Brooklyn with 100% soy wax, which means they're safe for my family. These are not your average run-of-the-mill candles that you'll find at the mall. Brooklyn candles are meant to be savored. My absolute favorite scent is called Sunday Morning, and I burn it all the darn time, not just on Sunday mornings. As a sustainable minimalist, I appreciate that Brooklyn Candle does not use any plastic in shipment. These are luxury candles at an accessible price point. Head to brooklyncandlestudio.com and use code SUSTAINABLE20 for 20% off your order. brooklyncandlestudio.com, promo code SUSTAINABLE20. Oh, we'll get there. Did you know that over 97% of women, 97% aged 19 to 50, are not getting enough vitamin D from their diet? And 95% are not getting their daily intake of omega-3s? Ritual's Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin was formulated to help fill nutrient gaps in our diets. For me, 2022 was a year of getting serious about my health. And these days, I take Ritual's multivitamin because they make it so unbelievably easy to fill gaps in my own diet. If you're wondering, yes, my husband does take their men's 18 Plus multivitamin, and both my daughters take Ritual's kids gummy version every single day. We are a Ritual-loving household over here. And right now, Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/sustainable and turn healthy habits into a ritual. That's 10% off at ritual.com/sustainable. In a quick minute. And we're back for one final time. Before the break, we discussed, what did we discuss? I don't remember. My memory is really going. We discussed produce and we discussed dairy. And now we are on to the meat and fish portion of today's show. Meats tend to freeze really darn well. If you eat it and it's on sale, buy it when it's on sale, right? And then put it in your well-organized freezer. If you are a single person or you do not have a large family, it might absolutely behoove you to take an item and separate it into smaller portions before freezing. So if you're buying a thing of chicken, a tray of chicken? I don't even know. And it has 8 pieces of chicken in it. And you alone or you and your partner or you and your roommate are not going to eat 8 pieces of chicken. Perhaps you separate them into 4 or even 2s and freeze them that way. And that way you can take out what you need when you need it. Now, of course, too, if you have extra time and you're buying a meat item, ground meat, let's take for example, you have extra time and you want to whip up some meatballs with that ground meat and then freeze the meatballs. Another great idea. You're saving yourself time down the road. So something to keep in mind. When it comes to fish is one of those items where, you could buy it in a bag, like with a lot of different pieces inside. So I'm thinking like individual portions of salmon, each in plastic, and then maybe in a bigger bag, there are 6 individual portions of plastic. And that can be appealing to, again, people without a big family. They want to take out and unfreeze, whatever they're going to eat, only what they're going to eat. The problem with those items, again, are those types of items at the supermarket, so 6 individually wrapped salmon portions, does tend to be more expensive than purchasing a piece of fish, salmon, let's say, that's on sale from the counter, from the actual human being, and then bringing it home and just cutting it up and separating it and then freezing it yourself. So consider buying that large piece of meat or fish if it's on sale, and then separating it into smaller portions at home. That's always an option, and it's almost always more economical. The final item I want to talk about when we talk about meat, for those of you who enjoy it, is the rotisserie chicken. There are so many things you can do with a rotisserie chicken, right? You can obviously eat it over the course of a week. You can make chicken sandwiches. And then, of course, you can take the carcass and make a chicken soup. I mean, you can feed a lot of people many meals with a single rotisserie chicken. Hello, how many meals can we make? I would love for somebody to write to me and tell me how many meals they've made with a single rotisserie chicken from the supermarket. So rotisserie chicken, you don't have to cook it. You buy it pre-cooked. You can make sandwiches, salads, soups, chicken pot pie. I mean, we could go on and on with all the things you can make with a single rotisserie chicken. Look in those circulars. Look and see what store has the rotisserie chicken on sale and buy one. Maybe if you have a large family, you buy two. Dinner's done for the next few nights at least. So those are my tips for what you should buy when it's on sale at the supermarket. We will all beat inflation together. Today we do have an eco tip, and it comes from Vanessa. Vanessa says that her office has a Keurig coffee machine, and her coworkers often leave their K-cups in the machine after they've made their coffee. Super rude, by the way. Vanessa, you got some rude coworkers. Anyways, instead of taking them out and throwing them straight into the trash, Vanessa takes them out of the machine, removes the cover off the top, and dumps the coffee grounds into a glass jar with a lid that she brought from home. So she does this every single time she goes into her kitchen at work and she checks the machine. And once her jar is full of coffee grounds, or anything else, frankly, she says that she can compost at work, she takes it home and she adds it to her compost pile. She says that this is a small act and that the K-cups, so the plastic cups, do still get thrown away. But she feels really good knowing that she was able to divert at least some of that food waste, essentially, back into the earth for compost. So what a great tip, Vanessa. I love how creative this is. I love how you go the extra mile, but you go the extra mile in a way that's really not that hard. It's not that hard. You're not upending your life. And that's the type of ingenuity we need to see more of in this world. So thank you so much for writing to me with that amazing eco tip. Listeners, if you have an eco tip, just shoot me a quick email. I'll add it into the eco tip section of our show. No eco tip is too big, too small, too silly, too stupid. We take them all here. And thank you for helping others on their eco-conscious journeys. I will see you on Thursday. Reach out if you need me, and take care.
Take as little as 3 minutes to see if you could save on motorcycle insurance with Progressive. Come on, you've spent more time than that thinking about helmets with faces on them.
I should get a new helmet. Ooh, maybe I'll get one of those ones that looks like a face with painted teeth and eyebrows, you know? Oh, that always looks so cool. People are like, whoa, is that a person with two faces? Oh, no, it's a helmet. And one face.
Get a quote in as little as 3 minutes at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar. You're in.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. And with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.